This is a story of Benjamin the hot dog and his trip through our digestive system. And also towards the end, we'll be discussing on what happens when you eat something like Benjamin and it had something bad inside of it, like a bacteriophage, for example. So first off, Benjamin was really excited that he was going to be eaten for lunch and turn into energy. What was going to happen to Benjamin was he's going to get chewed up in the oral cavity by our teeth and moved around with our tongue to basically form something called a bolus. And the bolus is essentially coated in saliva, which contains something called salivary amylase. And what this salivary amylase is it's an enzyme that helps begin the process of breaking down the carbohydrates. This is when Benjamin the hot dog turns into Benjamin the bolus, and he's been lubricated and made compact by everything within our oral cavity and pushed to the back of the throat. In the back of the throat, it's eventually pushed down through peristaltic movement and moved through the esophagus. After Benjamin has been pushed through the esophagus through peristaltic movement and gravity, he's going to pass through the gastroesophageal sphincter and make it into the stomach. And here in the stomach is when Benjamin the bolus will be turned to chyme through hydrochloric acid and something called pepsin. And pepsin is an enzyme that comes originally from pepsinogen, and it's when pepsinogen is reacted with the hydrochloric acid within the stomach. And what this does, it helps break down the proteins within Benjamin. After Benjamin's been through the stomach and pushed through the pyloric sphincter, which separates the small intestine from the stomach, Benjamin will start being absorbed through the small intestine, which is made up of three parts, which are the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. The duodenum is probably the most important part of the small intestine, and that's because it's the main site of absorption. The duodenum breaks down proteins and fats through enzymes such as lipase, pepsin, and trypsin. But of course, proteins and fats aren't the only things absorbed. In the small intestine, you also get a lot of mineral and vitamin absorption. Finally, Benjamin has had most of his nutrients absorbed, but he still has a tiny bit left to give, and that is water. So once in the large intestine, the remnants of Benjamin will essentially become drier as the colon absorbs the water. And the main function, along with this water absorption, is to push Benjamin through to our external anal sphincter, to our rectum, and get pushed out into the world. Now that Benjamin has completely made it through our digestive system, we can begin to kind of discuss what he's been broken down into. And Benjamin's buns, have been turned into molecules such as glucose, galactose, and fructose, and this is because they originally come from starches and carbs. Benjamin the hot dog has been turned into things such as amino acids and fatty acids, and the amino acids come from molecules such as pepsin and trypsin, and the fatty acids come from molecules such as lipase and also bile salts, which is originally made by the liver and helps in the emulsification of the fat. Now, what if Benjamin had something bad within him, like a bacteriophage that our stomach acid could not digest or could not handle? At this point, your brainstem is going to get a signal that makes it realize that we have to throw this up unless we want serious damage. So what ends up happening is your mouth will suddenly begin producing extra saliva that is a little bit alkaline to form a buffer so that when the stomach acid does come up, it doesn't damage your tongue, the inside of your mouth, your teeth as much as it would have if there was no buffer. Your brain's already sent out the signal for your body to vomit whatever's in your stomach, so your epiglottis closes up. Your airways are also pretty full at this point, just to add more pressure on your stomach. The diaphragm is also contracting at this point to add even more pressure, and dry heaving can also start around this time. The muscles around your stomach will also contract, and your pyloric sphincter closes. There's only one way out now, and that is through the mouth. And eventually, you do end up throwing up Benjamin, the deadly body hazard. Now, if Benjamin was normal and he went through the digestive system like we just talked about, his starch and his glucose will be stored in the liver as glycogen for your body to use later on. The liver is also connected in a way to the gallbladder, which helps store all the bile that it makes when you're not eating anything. At this point, we've concluded the tour of the digestive system and what happens to something like Benjamin once he's been digested. We hope we've done it justice and kind of explained what happens if you ate something regularly, and then if you ate something that was harmful to the body and how your body reacts and why it does what it does. Thank you so much for a great semester. And again, this was made by Brianna and me. So.